copies of this machine that I'm working on. So I'm just gonna need you to do an errand for me. And of course, I agree. Okay. Now, hopefully, if you so, just pause it for the developers. Just pause it each time when I go through the battle scenes and you know the stats they grow their level. Just pause it on the stat level and you can jot down and record it if you need to find out the information about like how much they grew, you know, from the last level. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I don't take too much time. But of course, in this instance, before the professor says to go on the errand, Taz is like, unbelievable. Like, what? Unbelievable. Like, I swear it went down. Did I pick the wrong Pokemon? So, of course, the professor will say, excellent. If you win, you earn prize money, and your Pokemon will grow. Battling other trainers and making your Pokemon stronger. So, of course, after that, before the professor tells me to go on an errand for him, Taz says, okay, I'll make my Pokemon battle to toughen it up. Like, he gets the concept about defeat, and he tells us, he tells the professor Gramps tell you later. And it's kind of like he gets the concept of Gary. They actually know who Gary is, and they actually idolize Gary. And that's why, well, Taz mainly does. So in this instance, of course, the professor then tells me he wants me to go on an errand. He says, like, I'll find out more stats about Blast, but first and foremost, like, he just needs making copies. Copies are getting developed of this new technical machine right now of the Pokédex, which they're sitting right there, of course, but no, he's telling it off the inner realm. Okay. Now it's gonna explain, and you're gonna see the scene when we come back of why. But the main thing and the main concept that I want to get to and speak about, including that Bulbasaur still sits here sadly, and ends up being forgotten, kind of. But it's not that bad, and it'll be all right. Like, you'll see why, and you'll see what happens. Okay. The professor mainly says go to the next town, and I think it's Viridian City. So he tells us to go to Viridian City and look around, and you'll find out what to do next. And like he says, go to Viridian City, look around, and come back. But before you come back, you'll find out what to do next for me, for my errand. And we're like, okay, you know. I ended up walking. Some of the assistants, you know, they're still around doing paperwork. Some of them are sitting there, like, watching, and they actually watched Taz lose, which was interesting. They took their research, which was kind of cool. The ones that were in the background while the battling was happening, and they're kind of like cool. And some of them are congratulating me while I walk out the door. And they're just telling me congratulations on your Pokemon and all that. So I'm gonna save it. You don't want to lose Blast how he is. Okay? Alright, let's charge him, making sure. So I end up walking through. We actually get to walk through Route 1. So we end up going through and continually going through the Route 1. Going through the grasslands, and a battle happens. And of course, this grassland protects the town. So a Lockpidgey pops up out of the window. Of course, I tell him to growl. And it's actually the interesting concept of, you know, people and trainers were like, oh, it's Pidgey, you know. But people that don't know about it, they end up seeing Pidgey. Now, it doesn't let them know that it's Pidgey yet, but they just see Pidgey, and I'm just going through the route, and I'm headed straight to Vermilion. Or Viridian. It's one of them. I think it's Viridian. Now, how the order sequence is how the battle would be for the first battle. Of course, this Pidgey is a female. They can give it a special trait or whatever. But of course, as you've seen, he ends up scratching pretty decently. I put it to nearly exhausted, okay? So I want to really speak on this concept because I didn't speak about it when we battled Taz. When the Pokemon also are out, they need to put in a realistic concept also during battle, and hopefully they seen this part afterward before they made development. But when they're in green, they're full of energy, and of course, as you can see, they're bouncing up and down. So you'll see them in the movie; they'll start moving around, and they'll have energy, and they'll act their nature, completely confident. Now, when they turn yellow, that's when they start getting exhausted. Depending on the level of yellow that they are, will really turn it out and show how much, though. But it's really when they have, they're like practically more skittish and a little bit thrown out of their characteristic a bit, but some of their abilities kick in also, as it'll show in the game. Like right now, as it's known and shown that we don't know yet, but I can explain it for this scenario. Blast has the move Blaze ability, and it ups fire moves in a pinch. Like, so when he's down the exhaustion like he is right now, he can actually when he's exhausted, he can actually battle and actually super effectively do more damage with fire moves. Okay, it's kind of cool. I heard that already, but it's fine. Definitely priceless. So of course we end up taking the Pidgey down. He's pretty exhausted. Now in this instance, for me battling that Pidgey, it kind of scares me because he gets exhausted and he's nearly about to go down. So I end up running back home to my mom, and I end up getting a piece of rest. Now, when they get to the red, which surprisingly and thank goodnessly, he hasn't got to the red yet. But when they're in the red, that's when you see them, as you've seen in the anime, they start sweating, they start breathing and painting, and they get exhausted. And they're fighting and they have will, but they're exhausted. They're exhausted, depending on how long they're in the red zone and how much toll that they are in the red zone. But that's their critical zone when they really are in, right? There's a lot to process and there's a lot to intake, but if you can actually remember this, I mean, if you need to, you'll probably have to rewatch sections over and over so it gets in your minds. Not to say it like that, but if there's multiple developers, it makes it easier, more minds than one. But for the person that's really more centered and more focused on the development and the key concept of detail, all you have to do is just watch each episode in detail and you'll get it. It'll be perfect in a way. Like, I just need Barrett's, like, the actual bearing of the actual development, like exact development, like every single second. Like, if that would be considered, I would really appreciate it, and I would definitely like that. But it'd be up to y'all. Now, if they actually add every single battle scene, including what we're going to be doing in training scenes, which the training scenes is practically researching, practically figuring out and battling and researching and figuring out what happens when they gain levels and grow and all that stuff. That would be important also, even if it's boring and repetitive, okay? So I end up waking up. It can be the next day or whatever, which will kind of throw it off, or kind of a bit. But I'd say when they take a rest, it can be an hour or so, or it can just be the next day. It depends. It's up to how they want to do it in the development to make it much interesting and longer, like for more days, because it's not like one single day. Okay, so we just continue back on the route. Of course, this is route 1 when you start and you're on your way and on the route. So of course we're continuing through route 1, which I'm not trying to hurry through it because there's a, you know what I mean, there's a reason why I'm not hurrying through it, because I'm making it seem like the route is longer than it seems. So along the route, when we get further and deeper through, another Pidgey pops up, another female. So I end up telling him to do scratch twice and immediately and all that. Tell him to do growl, of course, on her to lower her attack from hurting him. And of course, as it's not now known, that you will find out is we'll find out about the Pidgey. Okay. So of course he takes her down. Now what happens, of course, that we know right here from the screen is he grows another level, but of course, since the professor's not around right now with his machine, we don't know that. So it just ends up happening when he does the second battle. He gets more strong, gets more confident kind of, and he, out of nowhere, just starts doing Ember. So he just starts doing more spurts of Ember. But he's relaxed at it, so that's kind of cool. So we ended up continuing going through the route. Now, how it is before, you see this man's important to talk to and everything. But in this instance, how it would be if it was the game, the new game and all that, he wouldn't be there in this scene. He's not there in this scene. There's nobody that's here in this section of the route at the moment, okay? What actually happens is he's actually in Viridian City. So we continue through the route, and we're still going through, and we are still through the route. Of course, as you've seen, we didn't get bothered by any Pokemon going through there the last route. We're still continuing through the route. And we end up talking to this guy, and he says, of course, he says this: see those ledges along the road? It's a bit scary, but you can jump from them, okay? You can get back to Pollard-Town quicker that way also. Now you'll see and you'll know what the ledges are in a second, okay? Now we get through, and of course another Pidgey pops up, but this one's a male this time. So I tell him off rip to do Ember. Or, well, I don't really say Ember, I just say do your fire move. And he does Ember. But he actually looks at me relaxed, and he's like confused, like, huh? And then he just does it. And then I tell him scratch. Because I don't know what the fire move is yet. So I end up telling him to do scratch, and he does that instead. In this process, it starts to build, and he starts to trust me also a bit. Okay. So we actually make it, and we get through route 1. As you can see, right here is the ledges that the guy was talking about, and we'll show and explain. So it is Viridian City that we get to. And of course, as it is, this is your second town that you will start at. So I'm going to save it while we're here. Okay. And of course, there's a sign, trainer tips, battle moves of Pokemon are limited by their power points, which is called PP.